Lieutenant Han Taeho sat alone in the busy space station. His tired body leaned against the cold metal wall as he watched the many alien travelers walk by. Some gave him quick, nervous glances. Others made a point to walk far around him. No one sat near him, even though the waiting area was crowded. Taeho was used to this treatment. As a soldier from Earth, classified as a Deathworld by the Galactic Council, he was seen as dangerous by most other species. His muscular body, built by training in Earth's heavy gravity, made him look threatening to the smaller, lighter aliens who filled Nexus Station. The station's computer voice came through the speakers. Now boarding, luxury ship Stellar Dawn, destination Centrum Prime. All diplomatic passengers please proceed to Gate 12. Taeho stood up, grabbed his small travel bag, and walked toward the gate. His military boots made solid, heavy sounds on the shiny floor. Each step reminded everyone nearby that he was different. He was stronger, heavier, more solid than them. He tried to walk softly, but it made little difference. The boarding area was filled with well-dressed aliens wearing expensive clothes and jewelry. Government officials from 20 different worlds were traveling to the big meeting on Centrum Prime. Taeho felt out of place in his simple green and brown military uniform, with Earth's symbol, a blue planet with a sword through it, on his shoulder. "Identification, please," said the gate attendant, a tall, thin alien with light blue skin that seemed to shine under the bright lights. Captain Dahl, according to his name tag, had the typical Vesperan features: 6 fingers on each hand, large compound eyes that reflected rainbow colors, and a stiff posture that made him appear constantly uncomfortable. Taeho handed over his military ID card and travel papers. "Lieutenant Han Taeho, Terran Defense Force, 7th Deathworld Brigade. I have orders to report to Centrum Prime immediately." Captain Dahl took the documents between 2 slender fingers, as if afraid to touch them too much. His compound eyes moved rapidly as he read. Nearby, a group of richly dressed aliens whispered among themselves, occasionally looking at Taeho and laughing quietly. "These documents appear valid," Captain Dahl finally said, his voice high and musical. "However, there seems to be a problem." Taeho waited silently. He knew what was coming. "This vessel is reserved for diplomatic representatives and essential personnel only," Captain Dahl continued. "My orders come directly from Admiral Kim," Taeho replied calmly. "I'm carrying important information about the border attacks. The Council is waiting for my report." The Vesperan's antennae twitched nervously. "Yes, well, that may be true, but we have no suitable accommodations for someone of your physical nature." A few feet away, an elegantly dressed alien with golden skin and jewels embedded in his face turned to his companion. "They're letting Deathworlders serve as messengers now? What's next? Letting wild animals deliver our mail?" His companion laughed loudly, not bothering to hide his amusement. Taeho kept his face calm, though he felt his heart beat faster with frustration. This was not the first time he had faced such treatment, and it would not be the last. 6 years of military service, 2 war campaigns, and 3 life-saving missions. Yet still he was treated like a dangerous animal. "Captain," Taeho said, keeping his voice even, "my mission is time-sensitive. Lives depend on the information I'm carrying." Captain Dahl's compound eyes wouldn't meet Taeho's gaze. "Perhaps the cargo ship leaving tomorrow would be more appropriate for your needs. I'm sure they would have no issue with accommodating a Terran." "Is there a problem here?" A new voice joined the conversation. Taeho turned to see a small woman with short black hair and intelligent eyes. She wore the blue and silver uniform of the Galactic Science Division, with 3 stars on her collar marking her as a senior researcher. "Dr. Lee Jia," she said, extending her hand to Captain Dahl. "Xenobiology Department." Taeho recognized her immediately. Dr. Lee was famous in military circles. She had been the lead scientist during the Hive War, developing the toxin that had finally stopped the Wreck Queen's endless armies. Her work had saved millions of lives, including many Earth soldiers. "No problem, Doctor," Captain Dahl said quickly, his voice suddenly more respectful. "I was just explaining to this gentleman that our ship is not equipped for passengers from high-gravity worlds." Dr. Lee raised an eyebrow. Really? That's strange, because I distinctly remember approving the ship's design specifications myself 3 years ago. The Stellar Dawn was specifically built with adjustable gravity settings in all passenger quarters to accommodate travelers from all Council worlds, including Earth. Captain Dahl's blue skin darkened slightly, a Vesperan sign of embarrassment. Yes, well, there are other considerations. Security protocols and— Spare me, Dr. Lee cut him off. She turned to look at Taiho. Lieutenant, you're from the 7th Brigade? You served in the Hive War? Yes, Doctor. Outer Rim Defense, 3rd Wave, Taiho answered. She nodded. I thought I recognized you. Your unit helped defend my research station when the Freck broke through the Sigma line. She turned back to Captain Dahl. This man and his fellow soldiers saved my life and the lives of my entire research team. They held off an enemy force 20 times their size while we completed our work. The nearby aliens who had been laughing earlier were now listening intently. That may be so, Captain Dahl said stiffly, but rules are rules. This ship is for diplomatic personnel only, and Lieutenant Han is traveling on direct orders from Admiral Kim, carrying time-sensitive intelligence to the Council. Dr. Lee finished for him. That makes his journey diplomatic in nature. The law. Standoff continued for several uncomfortable seconds. Finally, Captain Dahl handed Taiho's documents back to him. Very well. But he will be your responsibility, Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee smiled thinly. Of course. As Captain Dahl waved them through, Taiho fell into step beside Dr. Lee. Thank you, he said quietly. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did, she replied without looking at him. The galaxy has a short memory when it comes to who bleeds to. Protect them. They boarded the gleaming ship and followed a robot guide to their quarters. The luxury of the vessel was immediately apparent. Soft lighting, real wood paneling, live plants from a dozen worlds, and the gentle sound of flowing water somewhere nearby. As they reached Dr. Lee's cabin, she paused. The council meeting is about border security, isn't it? The attacks are getting worse. Taiho nodded. 3 colonies lost in the past month. No survivors. And they still treat Earth soldiers like dangerous pets, she muttered. Fools. It doesn't matter how they treat us, Taiho said. We'll still fight. Dr. Lee looked at him with a mixture of admiration and sadness. That's what they're counting on, Lieutenant. That's exactly what they're counting on. As Taiho continued to his own cabin, he felt the eyes of other passengers on him. Let them stare, he thought. In 3 days they would reach Centrum Prime and he would deliver his report to the Council. Then they would understand the true danger that was coming for them all, a danger that wouldn't care about fancy, clothes, or diplomatic status, a danger that might make them grateful for Deathworld soldiers. 3 days into the journey, Lieutenant Han Taiho sat in the ship's observation deck, watching the stars streak by. The luxury ship Stellar Dawn moved smoothly through space, its powerful engines barely making a sound. Most passengers avoided the observation deck when Taiho was there, so he often had the beautiful view to himself. He was thinking about his upcoming meeting with the Council when a loud alarm suddenly blared throughout the ship. Red emergency lights began to flash in the corridors. All passengers, please return to your cabins immediately, the ship's computer announced. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Taiho was on his feet instantly. His military training kicked in as he moved quickly toward the bridge. He knew he wasn't supposed to go there, but something in his gut told him this was serious. Halfway to the bridge, he ran into Dr. Lee. Her face was tight with worry. What's happening? He asked. Scourge raiders, she said. They came out of nowhere. 3 ships. Taiho's blood ran cold. The Scourge were the most feared pirates in this part of space. They attacked ships, stole everything valuable, and left. No survivors. Together they hurried to the bridge. When they arrived, no one tried to stop them from entering. The crew was too busy with the emergency. Captain Dahl stood at the command station, his blue skin now pale with fear. Through the large front window, Taiho could see 3 black ships approaching. Their pointed shapes reminded him of hunting knives. Shields, at 40% and falling, reported a crew member. They're targeting our engines. Can we outrun them? Captain Dahl asked, his voice shaking. No, sir. They've damaged our main drive already. Dr. Lee stepped forward. Do we have any weapons? Captain Dahl looked at her with surprise. This is a diplomatic vessel, Doctor. We have only basic defensive shields. The ship shook violently as another attack hit them. Lights flickered and several control panels sparked with electricity. We've lost our communication array, someone shouted. We can't call for help. Taiho studied the enemy ships on the screen. They were using a standard attack pattern, one he had seen before. They're trying to disable the ship without destroying it, he said. They want to board us. Everyone on the bridge turned to look at him. Captain Dahl seemed surprised that Taiho knew anything about space battle tactics. What can we do? The captain finally asked. Taiho moved to the navigation console. If we can reach this asteroid field, he said, pointing to a cluster of rocks on the map, we might be able to hide and make repairs. Captain Dahl nodded to his pilot. Do it. The Stellar Dawn changed course, heading for the asteroid field, but the Scourge ships followed closely. They're locking weapons again, shouted the sensor operator. This time, when the attack came, it was much worse. The ship rocked violently, throwing people to the floor. Emergency sirens wailed even louder and smoke began to fill the bridge. Engine room reports critical damage, said the communication officer. Main power is failing. Taiho helped Dr. Lee back to her feet. Are there any escape pods? He asked. Captain Dahl nodded. Yes, but only enough for about half the passengers. Another hit rocked the ship. This time several consoles exploded in showers of sparks. A crew member screamed as she was burned. Radiation containment is compromised, reported an engineer who had just run onto the bridge. We have 2 hours before radiation reaches deadly levels. The situation was becoming desperate. Captain Dahl ordered evacuation to begin, with children and medical cases going first. But just as the first group was preparing to leave, more bad news came. Sir, the Scourge have targeted our escape pods. They've destroyed most of them. How many are left? Dr. Lee asked. Only 2 pods, with space for about 30 people total. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. There were more than 200 people on the ship. What about the Scourge ships? Taiho asked. Why haven't they boarded us? Our last attack damaged their docking equipment, said the weapons officer. They're making repairs, they'll be back. Captain Dahl looked defeated. We need to send a distress call, but our main communication system is destroyed. The emergency beacon? Dr. Lee suggested. Its range is too short. No one will hear it for days. Taiho thought hard. There had to be a way out of this. What about the shuttle bay? Do we still have any small craft on board? Just one maintenance shuttle, said the engineer. But it only has enough life support for one person, and its range is limited. Taiho nodded slowly. That might be enough. Dr. Lee looked at him sharply. What are you thinking? If someone could take the shuttle, they might be able to get far enough to send a distress call that would be heard. A suicide mission, Captain, Dahl said quietly. Whoever goes would likely run out of air before help arrives. I'll go, Taiho said simply. Everyone stared at him. The same aliens who had laughed at him days ago now looked at him with disbelief. Why would you volunteer? Asked one of the diplomats who had entered the bridge. Taiho recognized him as the golden-skinned alien who had made fun of him at the boarding gate. Because it's my job, Taiho answered. I'm a soldier. This is what we do. Captain Dahl seemed uncomfortable. Lieutenant, I must apologize for how I treated you earlier. No time for that now, Taiho said. Show me to the shuttle bay. As Dr. Lee walked with him toward the shuttle bay, alarms continued to blare around them. The ship groaned and creaked, its damaged structure struggling to hold together. This is a one-way trip, Dr. Lee said quietly. Maybe, Taiho replied, but there's a chance I can reach the Fenir outpost. It's not that far. Not far for a regular ship, Dr. Lee argued. But in that small shuttle, with limited air, it's impossible. Taiho smiled slightly. Impossible is what Deathworlders do best. Doctor. They reached the shuttle bay, which was still intact despite the damage to the rest of the ship. The maintenance shuttle was small, barely larger than a car. It had just enough room for one pilot and some tools. The distress beacon is already loaded, said the engineer who had followed them. All you need to do is get far enough away from the asteroid field for the signal to reach a patrol ship. Taiho checked the shuttle's systems quickly. Everything seemed to be working. Taiho, Dr. Lee said, using his first name for the first time. There's something you should know about humans, about Earth. He looked at her curiously. When we reach safety, if we reach safety, there's something important I need to tell everyone about why humans are treated this way. Taiho nodded, though he didn't understand what she meant. If I don't make it back, make sure my message gets to the council. The border attacks are just the beginning. Something bigger is coming. Dr. Lee promised she would. As Taiho climbed into the small shuttle, Captain Dahl's voice came over the ship's speakers. Attention all passengers and crew. A brave volunteer is attempting to reach help. Please remain calm and follow crew instructions. We will survive this together. As the shuttle bay doors opened, Taiho took one last look at the damaged luxury ship. Then he launched his tiny craft into space, heading away from the asteroid field, alone in the vast emptiness, carrying the hopes of 200 lives on his shoulders. Lieutenant Han Taiho piloted the small maintenance shuttle away from the damaged Stellar Dawn. The tiny craft shook and rattled as it moved. It was not built for long journeys or high speeds. Still, Taiho pushed the engines as hard as he dared. Once, he was clear of the asteroid field. He activated the emergency beacon. Its signal would travel farther than the ship's damaged systems could reach. But Taiho knew the bitter truth. Even if the signal was picked up right away, the nearest help was hours away. The people on the Stellar Dawn didn't have hours. Taiho checked his oxygen levels. 6 hours at most. Not enough time to reach any outpost and definitely not enough to wait for rescue ships to save the Stellar Dawn. He needed a better plan. As he studied the shuttle's simple control panel, an idea began to form in his mind. It was dangerous, maybe impossible, but it might work. He turned the shuttle around and headed back toward the Stellar Dawn. On the damaged luxury ship, things were getting worse. The life support systems were failing. The air was getting thin, and the temperature was dropping. In the ship's main hall, passengers huddled together for warmth. Many were crying quietly. On the bridge, Captain Dahl and Dr. Lee watched the radiation levels rise on the monitors. The ship's damaged engines were leaking deadly radiation that would soon reach the passenger areas. How much time do we have? Dr. Lee asked. Less than an hour before radiation reaches fatal levels, Captain Dahl replied, his voice hollow. The emergency shields won't hold much longer. The communications officer suddenly sat up straight. Captain, I'm picking up a signal. It's the shuttle. Captain Dahl rushed to the console. Lieutenant Han, can you hear us? Taiho's voice came through with static. I hear you, Captain. I'm returning to the ship. Returning? Why? Did you send the distress signal? Yes, the signal is out, but help won't arrive in time, Taiho explained. I have another plan. Through the bridge windows, they could see the small shuttle approaching. It looked tiny against the backdrop of space and the massive luxury ship. What is he doing? Asked the golden-skinned diplomat, who had remained on the bridge during the crisis. Dr. Lee watched with growing understanding. Something impossible, she said quietly. The shuttle maneuvered beneath the Stellar Dawn, positioning itself directly under the ship's damaged engine section. Then, incredibly, it began to push upward against the much larger vessel. He's trying to move us, Captain Dahl said in disbelief. But that's impossible. His shuttle is too small. He's not trying to move the whole ship, Dr. Lee realized. He's trying to push us out of the asteroid field just far enough for our emergency systems to work better. On the shuttle, Taiho strained against the controls. Sweat poured down his face as he pushed the small craft's engines beyond their limits. Warning lights flashed across his control panel. The shuttle wasn't built for this kind of strain. Engine overheating, the shuttle's computer warned. Structural failure imminent. Taiho ignored the warnings. He focused all his strength on keeping the shuttle steady as it pushed against the massive ship above it. Years of training on Earth and its heavy gravity had made him stronger than most other species could understand. Now he needed every bit of that strength. "Lieutenant Han," Captain Dahl's voice came through the radio. "Your shuttle cannot withstand this strain. You must stop." "Negative," Taiho replied through gritted teeth. Almost clear of the field, in the engine room of the Stellar Dawn, engineers watched in amazement as the shuttle's efforts actually began to move the ship. Slowly, the massive vessel edged away from the asteroid field. As they cleared the last floating rocks, the engineers made an important discovery. "Captain," one called to the bridge, "the shuttle's power systems are compatible with our emergency backups. If Lieutenant Han can dock and connect his shuttle to our systems, we might be able to restore enough power to contain the radiation." Captain Dahl relayed the information to Taiho. "Can you dock with us?" "Negative," Taiho responded. "Docking system damaged, but I have an idea." To everyone's horror, Taiho maneuvered his shuttle directly into a damaged section of the Stellar Dawn's hull. The crash was controlled but violent. The shuttle broke through the outer hull but was wedged firmly in place. Alarms blared throughout the ship. Emergency doors sealed automatically to prevent air from escaping through the new breach. "He's crazy," shouted the golden-skinned diplomat. "He's doomed us all." But Dr. Lee was already running toward the crash site, followed by several engineers. They reached the area to find Taiho climbing out of his damaged shuttle. His forehead was bleeding, and he was limping, but he was alive. "The shuttle's power core," he gasped. "Connect it to your emergency systems. Hurry." The engineers worked quickly, running thick cables from the shuttle's power core to the ship's emergency systems. It was dangerous work. One wrong connection could cause an explosion. Back on the bridge, Captain Dahl watched the power levels anxiously. Suddenly, the emergency lights stopped flashing and the main lights came back on. A cheer went up from the crew. "It's working," the engineer reported. "We have power to the containment fields. Radiation levels are dropping." Captain Dahl could hardly believe it. "How long will it last?" "The shuttle's power core won't last forever," the engineer admitted. "Maybe 5 hours, but that should be enough time for help to arrive." In the medical bay, doctors treated Taiho's injuries. Dr. Lee stood nearby, watching with a strange expression on her face. "You risked your life for people who wouldn't even give you a seat," she said quietly. Taiho winced as the doctor cleaned his wound. "It's what any soldier would do." "No," Dr. Lee said firmly. "It's what a human would do. A Deathworlder." She pulled out a small data pad from her pocket and showed it to him. "Do you know what this is?" Taiho looked at the screen. It showed complex genetic diagrams that he didn't understand. "This is your DNA," Dr. Lee explained. "And this is why the Council fears humans so much." She took a deep breath. "Taiho, Earth isn't just a death world by accident. Humans weren't just tough survivors who evolved on a harsh planet. The truth is much more significant." Around them, other passengers had gathered to listen. Even Captain Dahl had come down from the bridge to hear what Dr. Lee was saying. "The truth," Dr. Lee continued, "is that humans were engineered, created for a purpose." A shocked murmur ran through the crowd. Taiho stared at her in confusion. Engineered? By whom? Dr. Lee looked around, at the aliens gathered in the medical bay. By the precursors, the ancient race that seeded life throughout this galaxy eons ago. They created Earth as a forge, and humans as weapons. The golden-skinned diplomat pushed forward. "That's impossible. The precursors are just a myth." Lee shook her head. "No, they were real, and they created humans for one specific purpose, to fight an enemy that the precursors themselves couldn't defeat, an enemy that will soon return." She looked directly at Taiho. "An enemy that is behind the border attacks you were going to warn the Council about." The medical bay fell completely silent as everyone absorbed this shocking information. Captain Dahl was the first to find his voice. "How do you know this, Doctor?" Dr. Lee's face was grim. "Because I've been part of a secret council project studying human DNA for years. We've known the truth for some time." But the council was afraid to tell everyone. She turned to face the gathered aliens. The people you've been avoiding, the soldiers you've been mocking and fearing, they are the galaxy's last hope against what's coming, and now you're all going to learn why. The medical bay of the stellar dawn was completely silent. Every person, human and alien alike, stared at Dr. Lee in shock. The truth about humans had left them all speechless. Captain Dahl was the first to recover. If what you say is true, Doctor, why has the council kept this secret? The people have a right to know. Dr. Lee sighed. Fear, Captain. Pure and simple fear. Imagine telling the galaxy that one species was created specifically to be warriors, biological weapons designed to fight an enemy so terrible that even the precursors couldn't defeat them. People would panic, Taiho said quietly from his bed. Or they would want to destroy us. Dr. Lee nodded. Exactly. So the council classified Earth as a death world, made rules to limit human numbers on other planets, and spread stories about how dangerous and unpredictable humans are. All to keep people away from the truth, the golden-skinned diplomat pushed forward. This is absurd. If humans were engineered to be super soldiers, why aren't they stronger? Why don't they have special powers or abilities? Dr. Lee turned to him with a cold smile. But they do. You just witnessed one. She pointed at Taiho. Lieutenant Han just piloted a maintenance shuttle beyond its limits, crashed it into our ship, and survived with only minor injuries. His body is already healing at a rate that would be impossible for your species. That's not just training or toughness. That's genetic engineering at work. The doctor treating Taiho confirmed this with a nod. His wounds are already closing. I've never seen anything like it. Humans don't have flashy powers, Dr. Lee continued. No laser eyes or ability to fly. The precursors were more subtle than that. They gave humans enhanced strength, incredible endurance, rapid healing, and most importantly, adaptability. Humans can live in more environments, eat more types of food, and survive more injuries than any other intelligent species. She looked around the room. And one more thing. Humans will sacrifice themselves for others, even for people who hate them. That's not just culture or training. It's built into their DNA. The precursors designed the perfect soldiers, ones who would fight to protect life itself. The ship's communication officer burst into the medical bay. Captain, rescue ships are approaching. The distress signal worked. Everyone cheered, but Taiho remained serious. Dr. Lee, you mentioned the border attacks. Are you saying they're connected to this ancient enemy? Dr. Lee nodded grimly. Yes. The attacks have a pattern that matches ancient records of the enemy the precursors feared. We believe they're scouts testing our defenses before the main force arrives. How long do we have? Captain Dahl asked. Months, maybe a year at most, Dr. Lee replied. That's why your mission to the council was so important, Lieutenant. Your military has gathered evidence that confirms what my research team has feared. The golden-skinned diplomat who had mocked Taiho earlier now approached his bed. His jeweled face showed shame. I owe you an apology, Lieutenant. We all do. He bowed deeply, a sign of great respect in his culture. You saved our lives, today. One by one, the other passengers came forward to thank Taiho. Many looked embarrassed about how they had treated him before. Captain Dahl formally apologized for denying him a seat. Taiho accepted their apologies with quiet dignity. What matters now is preparing for what's coming, he said. The whole galaxy needs to know the truth so we can stand together. Dr. Lee agreed. No more secrets, no more treating humans like dangerous animals. If we're going to survive what's coming, we need every human soldier fighting at our side. 3 days later, rescue ships brought the passengers and crew of the Stellar Dawn safely to Centrum Prime. The story of what happened, and the truth about humans, spread quickly through the station. By the time the council meeting began, everyone was talking about the revelation. Taiho, now recovered from his injuries, stood before the full Galactic Council. 200 representatives from different worlds watched as he delivered his report on the border attacks. Dr. Lee stood beside him, providing the scientific evidence that supported his military data. The pattern is clear, Taiho concluded. These are not random pirate attacks. They are coordinated tests of our defenses by an advanced enemy force, the same enemy the precursors engineered humans to fight. The council chamber erupted in worried conversation. The head of the council, a wise old Meridian with silver skin, called for quiet. "Lieutenant Han," she said, "your bravery on the Stellar Dawn has been reported to us. You risked your life for people who had shown you nothing but contempt." "Why?" Taeho stood straight and tall. "Because that's what soldiers do, that's what humans do." The Meridian nodded slowly. "Perhaps we have been wrong about humans all along. Instead of fearing your strength, we should have been grateful for it." She turned to address the full council. "Today, we must make a historic decision. For too long, we have hidden the truth about humans and their purpose in this galaxy. For too long, we have treated them as dangerous outsiders when they were created to be our protectors." One by one, the council members voted. The result was unanimous. Earth would no longer be classified as a restricted death world. Humans would be recognized as full members of the galactic community, with a special status as defenders. A new military force would be created, with human soldiers at its core to prepare for the coming enemy. After the meeting, Dr. Lee found Taeho looking out a window at the stars. "How does it feel," she asked, "to change the future of your entire species in one day?" Taeho smiled slightly. "I didn't do it alone. You had the courage to tell the truth." "Truth has a power of its own," Dr. Lee said. "Once spoken, it can't be unheard." "Do you think we'll be ready when they come?" Taeho asked, still looking at the stars. "I don't know," Dr. Lee admitted. "But now we'll face them together, not divided by fear and lies." The next day, as Taeho boarded a military ship bound for Earth, he found something unusual. The other passengers moved aside respectfully to let him pass. An alien mother pointed him out to her child, speaking with admiration instead of fear. The boarding gate, the attendant, a Vesperan like Captain Dahl, checked his identification and smiled. "Thank you for your service, Lieutenant. Your seat is ready, the best one on the ship." As Taeho settled into his seat, he thought about how quickly things had changed. One day, denied a seat because of fear. The next day, given the best seat because of respect. All because the truth had finally been told. He looked out the window as the ship prepared for departure. Somewhere out there, beyond the stars, an ancient enemy was gathering its forces. Taeho didn't know if even humans, with all their engineered abilities, would be strong enough to defeat them. But he did know one thing. They wouldn't face the enemy alone. Not anymore. As the ship lifted off, carrying him home to Earth, Taeho smiled. Sometimes the truth really did leave everyone speechless. But after the silence came understanding. And after understanding, unity. And unity, Taeho believed, was the greatest strength of all.